Remarkably free for their time, and the almost mystical Stonehenge, painted in 1835, with its double rainbow, is often considered to be one of the greatest watercolours ever painted. This was a private residence of a wealthy merchant. Then in 1638 it became what must have been, with its magnificent hall, one of the most stylish of workhouses, and this was its use for more than 200 years. An antiquarian bookshop, but is now a popular local restaurant. As we pass through the traffic lights, looking to the right, you will see the High Street Gate, the main entrance of the cathedral. We will tell you more about this on the way back from Stonehenge. The New Inn here on the right. Standing majestically in St John Street is the White Hart Hotel, crested by a statue of the namesake of both the hotel and the chequer in which it stands. A lively account of the Salisbury markets, as they were in 1842, are contained in Chapter 5 of Charles Dickens' novel Martin Chuzzlewit, along with a description of the White Hart. The novel was published in 1843. Directly in front of us is topped by a small room with a medieval window, which was once a chapel. The composer George Handel gave his first public concert in England here in 1710, and he was a regular visitor to Salisbury throughout his life. As we continue in here, we can tell you that for more than 600 years, canals and open conduits ran through many of the streets in the centre of Salisbury. There were two canal systems, both leading out to the River Avon. It's the only reminder of its watery past. This was originally a wooden chapel built for the labourers working on the cathedral, and is truly the townspeople's church. After 1450, the Poultry Cross, standing at the end of the road in front of us, is one of the favourite sights of Salisbury. It is still used by stallholders on market days to shelter their goods from the weather. In fact, a Poultry Cross has stood here since 1335. The lower section of the cross seen today dates from the end of the 15th century. This plain but workmanlike structure was embellished in Victorian times by ornate flying buttresses surrounding a central pinnacle, and in 1835 it was given its present medieval roof. Between the marketplace and the new canal are the roads, enticingly named to reflect the business of those who traded there. Fish Row, Butcher Row, Ox Row and Oatmeal Row. In this quarter too were the four medieval market crosses, of which only the Poultry Cross remains today. The others, the Cheese Cross, the Barnard's Cross and the Wool Cross, have all long since disappeared, being taken to disperse production to small facilities throughout the local area. Interestingly, Salisbury was never bombed during the war, and when the conflict ended, speaking to the Luftwaffe pilots, they found out they were under strict orders not to damage the cathedral, as it was used as a marker. Once they had found it, they could then proceed on to their designated targets. 1855. At around 11:40 a.m, the signal was given and the bolt of the trapdoor was pulled, and the unfortunate man was launched into eternity. His death was almost instantaneous, and his fall from the drop caused a wound inflicted at the time of the murder to break out afresh, spraying the witnesses in the front rows with blood, serving only to increase the horror of the spectacle. Sarum is mentioned in some of the earliest records in the country. This is a defensive hill fort, constructed from a natural hill with the ditches and banks dug out by hand. The ditches were at least 15 feet deep, and the banks were even higher. On the lower banks we have the Iron Age defences, and on the second level the remains of the first cathedral and the city, and then at the very top a castle was built for William the Conqueror. The stone for this building was imported from Caen in France. It was also here that he took possession of the Domesday Book, the first census in a way, as it detailed every person and belongings, even the amount of livestock and machinery owned. At Stonehenge, the ditch is indeed outside the bank. Stonehenge is one of the most famous historic sites in the world, and is the remains of a ring of standing stones set within earthworks. It is in the middle of the most dense complex of Neolithic and Bronze Age monuments in England, including several hundred burial mounds. Archaeologists believe it was built anywhere from 3000 BC to 2000 BC. About 110 metres or 360 feet in diameter, with a large entrance to the northeast and a smaller one to the south. It stood in open grassland on a slightly sloping spot. The builders placed the bones of deer and oxen in the bottom of the ditch, as well as some worked flint tools. The bones were considerably older than the anchorheads used to dig the ditch, and the people who buried them had looked after them for some time prior to burial. The ditch was continuous and dug in sections, like the ditches of the earlier Coleswell enclosures in the area. The chalk dug from the ditch was piled up to form the bank. This first stage is dated to around 3100 BC, after which the ditch began to silt up naturally. The monument was some 500 years. A small outer bank beyond the ditch could also date to this period. Stones weighing up to 4 tons each are said to have been erected around 2400 BC, after the first attempt at erecting Stonehenge had been abandoned. As we arrive here at the Stonehenge Visitors Centre, please remain seated until the bus stops and the engine has been switched off. This is for your own safety. For those customers who have purchased the all-inclusive tour and entrance ticket, would you please remain seated on the bus whilst your driver completes the necessary paperwork with the English Heritage staff. For those of you who have the bus ticket only, please make your way off the bus, turn left and follow the footpath down to the Visitors Centre.
That aspect of the great circle, but the mine is equally valid into plain the site that's 12,000 years deep, and they call it roughly. But this site is so connected, it's not true.
Right, well, that's always the problem. People spend most of the time trying to resolve that, but if you know this very well, it automatically makes that work better. It's knowing one's past to know the future. And that's what this action is doing. But it appears quick. It's always dark light. But if somebody's done something to literally harm someone else, it seems to bring to light the damage they did to everyone else.
Avon. We know this from excavations and measurements of the pelvic bones. The long barrow across the corner of this field is 1,000 years older. The unique thing about this long barrow is that it was used for one very old man. Long barrows were normally used as communal burial chambers. Much later, this one had a man, a woman, and 4 children's bodies added. This is known as an intrusive burial. Access to the bodies. When they had enough bodies, they would be placed in a stone or wooden death house, and a mound of chalk would be placed over them. We don't know what dictates the size and shape of the mounds. Some say it's religious, and some say it's cultural. We'll probably never know for sure. Runs through this valley all the way into Salisbury. There are 5 rivers that flow into Salisbury. They are the Avon, the Bourne, the Ebble, the Nadder, and the Wylye. It was in this valley on the left on the 6th of October 1651 that King Charles II, Julia Coningsbury and Henry Peters, a servant, arrived to hide out in the home of Mrs. Amphilis Hyde at Heel House following the defeat at the Battle of Worcester, the final battle in the English Civil War on the 3rd of September. Though sleeping at Heel, Charles spent his days at Stonehenge, returning to the house each evening after dark. The king made good his escape to France, landing there on the 16th of October. In the Roman occupation of Britain, between AD 43 and AD 410, the site was a military station, strategically placed near the convergence of 5 important roads. The hill fort was marked on Roman road maps by the name of Sorvio Dunum. In the early part of the 9th century, it was a frequent residence of Egbert of Wessex, and in 960 King Edgar assembled a national council there to plan a defence against the Danes in the north. A motte and bailey castle was built in around 1069, 3 years after the Norman conquest, and the town was renamed. It is listed in the Domesday Book as Salisbury, from which the names Sarum and Salisbury are derived. In 1086, William the Conqueror convened the prelates, nobles, sheriffs and knights of his dominions at Old Sarum to pay him homage and swear an oath of allegiance. This has become known as the Salisbury Oath. We have now crossed the River Avon and will proceed up and around Old Sarum. From the vantage point of the bus, you will get some idea of the sheer size of the banks and ditches to your front and then right-hand sides.